خلاص. Okay. Advice on how to keep together and increase the love for one another in these times where people are busy in dunya affairs. If you mean love one another between Islamic brotherhood, between brothers and sisters, then the key word here is overlooking each other, pardoning each other, just as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has mentioned in his book that those who pardon, they control their anger and they pardon much. When we are going to pick on every, whether it be small or look at Ali and Muawiyah. This dispute between them, radiyallahu anhuma, led to the spilling of blood and death, killing on the battlefield of Muslims. Because of what? Because of the infiltration of the Munafiqeen and Abdullah bin Sabah and others from the Shia. They infiltrated the ranks of Muslims, created discord, such that they met each other upon the battlefield, Battle of Siffin. Death and the killing of Muslims took place, and at the leadership of each army was a Sahabi. The majority of the Sahaba stayed out, which is another thing that we need to learn. Stay out. If it doesn't involve you, stay out. If you can't bring rectification, stay away. Don't involve yourselves in the affairs of others. But the point here being that this dispute that took place between them, neither one of them ever accepted anyone to backbite the other. If this is the way of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, that a dispute that took place that led to thousands of deaths upon the battlefield, yet Ali would never allow criticism of Muawiyah. Muawiyah would never allow criticism of Ali. This is how the Sahaba were. Even after all of this, Aisha saw that Talha and Zubair, the two closest from the 10 who were promised Jannah, two of the closest, ones who were close to Aisha radiallahu anha at the battle of the Jamal, that they are killed in a skirmish between the troops of Ali and the troops of, or those who were with Aisha radiallahu anha. Two companions got killed, dhulman, in oppression. Yet Aisha refused to speak a bad word about Ali ever. And Ali refused to speak a bad word about Aisha ever. She never blamed him. She never said, he is the one responsible because of these two great men passing away. Never. Because they overlooked and they knew that inshallah the asal is that they want good. So they had all these good thoughts about each other. Ahlul Sunnah, specifically, when we're talking about Ahlul Sunnah, I mean the Salafis. The Salafis specifically should have this trait within them. Overlooking, forgiving, saying, it's happened. Khalas. It's happened. What can I do? Qadar Allah, it happened. He shouted, she shouted, husband and wife, same thing. And it amazes me sometimes that sometimes we'll tolerate so much from our wives, but we would never tolerate from a brother. Wives will shout at their husbands, and you're like, what you doing? You deserve it. And you say, calm down. No, you this and you. But we'll tolerate it. Because men know that this is the mother of my children. When she calms down, I'll give her a nice 1 hour dars on how to treat a husband. But this is not the time. Because I don't want to hear it. I know what you're going to say. I don't want to hear it. You were supposed to be here for 5. You got here for 6. So I don't want to hear it. So that's probably not the good time. But afterwards, you sit her down and say, right, do you remember what happened yesterday evening? Let me tell you how you should have done it. And let me teach you how to overlook the shortcomings of your husband, just like I overlook your shortcomings. But the thing is, when it comes to brotherhood and sisterhood, sisters between sisters, brothers between brothers, we don't overlook. In fact, we try to broaden the circle to get people on my side against my brother. And we can't Allahul Musta'an. And this is advice to myself and to my brothers and to my sisters even, that we have a tendency that we want people on our side, and I want to tell my brother because I want him to feel my pain so he can comfort me. But in the process, shaitan comes in and you end up disrespecting, dishonoring and speaking ill of your brother, almost making a party on this side and a party on that side, because we don't know how to overlook and what to overlook. If it was an affair of deen or open fisq, like Fulan is a fasiq and he committed zina, right? Because these cases do arise, and Islam does allow, in fact, it is mashru', it is legislated in the Sharia to make hajar from a fasiq. Like an alcoholic, I can say, I don't want to speak to you. When you're ready and you're detoxed and you've rehabilitated yourself, then no problem. Up until then, go and make tawbah, go and rectify yourself. Up until then, I don't want to be in your company. That is allowed for a fasiq, for a gambler, for a drunkard. But let's say it's a dispute between brothers, or two brothers, two sisters, or three brothers, four sisters, whatever. The one who says, you know what, I understand that not everyone is created the same. I understand that I have deficiencies, he has deficiencies. I understand that I don't have to live in this person's pocket. If I forgive him, overlook him, doesn't mean that I have to see him every day, because I know that my character maybe doesn't click with his character. But you know what? Leave it. When I see him, salam, wa alaikum salam, give him a hug, maybe buy him a gift every so often. But he's not your sahib on a day-to-day basis. My sahib is this one and that one and that one. That is not. But it doesn't mean now that I should hold, because of my previous history with him, I'm going to now carry that with me and tell these 3 or 4 or 5, so they become on my side and they start holding that. This is something that actually pollutes the brotherhood. In the field of da'wah, it kills da'wah. In brotherhood, it pollutes it, and it causes animosities. If it happens between du'at and people involved in the da'wah, it cripples and kills da'wah. A da'wah in a city or a town or in a country can be annihilated through that. Yemen is an example after Sheikh Muqbil. These are du'at, tulab al-ilm, fighting and causing so much enmity and hatred. The whole of Yemen is this is pre-civil war. Why? Because of the fact, that was because of bid'ah, jealousies that led to bid'ah. In reality, Ma'arabi was a jealousy, Hajuri is a jealousy. These are jealousies trying to get people on their own side, because they don't like, why is this camp bigger than my camp? That was the asal with some of these people. More people, why are more people? Don't go to his camp. Why? Because he's a Hizbi. Why is he Hizbi? Because you should be here. That's the asal of some of their animosities. In the field of da'wah, it cripples. If you are in the field of da'wah, you have to be more forgiving, more tolerant, more pardoning, more overlooking than the amatun nas. If you don't have that ability of forbearance, where a man can come to you and grab you by your neck and turn you around, leaving a mark on your neck, and ask you for wealth, if you're not willing to overlook him, get out the field of da'wah. Because that's what happened to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when a Bedouin came to him, grabbed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam by the garment that was around his neck, pulled the garment, making a mark on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's neck, turning him around. He said, Muhammad, give me some of the wealth that Allah has given you. What did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam do? Abu Bakr, don't ever talk to this man again. Umar, don't even go near him. What Fulan, don't do this. Don't do. Prophet ﷺ said, see those 2 mountains? All of the sheep between those 2 mountains, take them. He's shocked. Are you mocking me? Take them. What did he do? Being a Bedouin, he took them. He didn't take one. He took the whole lot. Then he went to his people. He said, oh people, enter into Islam. Embrace Islam. For I have met a prophet who gives from his wealth and he does not fear poverty. So instead of the Prophet ﷺ punishing him and berating him, he gave him, and look at the fruits of that. These are the prophets. This is why when we read Usul al-Thalatha, what does it say right at the very beginning? From those affairs that every single caller must have, that he must be able to bear patiently with the harm that comes to him. And if you are in the field of da'wah, ask me. Harm will come to you. Ask me. There's not anyone sitting here today who doesn't know the attacks that we receive. Myself, Abu Hakim, Hassan Somali, Abu Iyad, Abdul Ilah, Uwais. They make videos and cartoons about us, mocking us, belittling us, calling us munafiqun, fornicators. I can't think of a name that they kuffar, you name it, death threats. Yet, I know that these people, every single one of them, they are mubtadi'ah, ahlul bid'ah, misguided or ignorant. That's the enemy that attacks and tries to undermine the da'wah of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum in our times. So why would I now in the field of da'wah try to undermine those that we know are needed in the field of da'wah? Overlooking, being patient. Even if you know something to be true about a person, saying, for myself, I'll keep a distance, but I won't say anything to anybody else, because this is my experience with fulan. And staying away. Unless he's a fasiq, open sinner, that, doesn't care about the limits of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then that's different. So, overlook, pardon, forgive, control your anger. In the field of da'wah, even more so. If you don't have those traits in the field of da'wah, get out of da'wah. It's not for you. It's not for you. Prophet ﷺ used to get angry for Allah, not angry for himself. If anyone did him something wrong, he would never take revenge. We'll take revenge for 10 rupees in our times. We want revenge. Whereas the Prophet ﷺ was forbearing and overlooking and forgiving. There are a handful of brothers here today who know my relationship with the du'at in the UK. Some of you are sitting here today. By Allah, in 30 years, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to preserve our brotherhood. In 30 years, I have not fallen out with them. Have we differed? We've differed. Never. In 30 years that I've known Abu Hakim since 91. Abu Iyad since 92. Abu Talha since 91. Some of the other brothers, for decades I've known them. And some of them are sitting here today. Never fallen out. Have we differed? Of course, we differ. Some masail we differ. But we have never come to the stage whereby one warns against another. Because that will destroy da'wah. That will destroy brotherhood. And this is why I believe, why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed the da'wah in the UK. Because of the fact that we never allowed any of this to occur between us. Someone says to me, do a talk. I say, call Abu Hakim. Someone goes to Abu Hakim, do a talk for us. He says, go to Abu Khadeejah. Someone comes to Abu Idris, come and do a talk. Call Abdul Ilah. Abdul Ilah, call Abu Iyad. Always giving our brothers preference to ourselves, because that was the way of the Ansar with the Muhajirun. That they would give preference to their brothers from the Muhajirun, even though they themselves were in poverty. They themselves would go hungry and they would feed the Muhajirun. This is da'wah. If you cannot reach that perfection in morals and manners that were collectively found in that community of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum under the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then strive to reach that. If you know this is not you, step away. If you're a person, brother or sister, you're married, husband and wife are married to each other, marry a man who is forbearing and patient. Sisters, marry a man who is forbearing and patient. Brothers, marry a woman who is patient, forbearing, hardworking, conscientious. Don't marry lazy people. if in the meeting with the sister she says, well, I've never really cooked, I don't really like cooking, I don't really like anything. That's not, you're not refusing her because she can't cook. You're refusing her because she's damn lazy. The issue isn't about cooking. The issue is, why can't you cook? What have you been doing for the last 18 years? Reading Famous 5 and Secret 7? What have you been doing? You can't cook. The issue isn't about cooking because I don't need a Michelin star chef in the house. But if you say, I've never learnt it, I never liked it, it never really interested me, you're lazy. Because eating is a necessity for human beings. Likewise, a man who says, well, have you worked? No, I don't really like working. What do you mean you don't like? I just sit in durus. So how do you live? Well, handouts. Either from the government or from the people. And there's too much fitna in the world, so I don't really like working. You know, if you go and work, you might see women in the street. Say, MashaAllah, you have more piety than the Sahaba. You have more piety than the Salaf. So you're so scared of walking in the street that you may see a woman that's going to throw you into what? Zina? So what's your level of control? What's your level of self-restraint? What's your level of jihad against the nafs? That you're so scared to walk in the street that you might see a woman that she's going to make you what? Collapse out of fitna? You can't control your sight to that degree? So I'm not going to work? Don't marry a man like this. It's not that he can't do that. He's too lazy. And all of these are just excuses. Barakallahu feekum. I hope that answers that question to a degree. What are we saying?